Many people avoid looking at the balance sheet because it feels confusing or intimidating. They see a list of numbers and unfamiliar terms and immediately assume that it's something only accountants understand. In reality, a balance sheet is one of the most useful financial tools available, and once you know what to look for, it becomes much easier to understand. Whether you own a business, plan to own one, or simply want to understand financial information better, knowing how to read a balance sheet can help you make smarter decisions. I work with balance sheets regularly and help business owners to understand what it's actually telling them. Today, I want to break down the balance sheet into a simple, practical way to look at it. By the end of the presentation, you'll understand what a balance sheet is, what its three main sections are, and how those sections work together to show a business's financial health. To begin, let's talk about what a balance sheet represents. A balance sheet provides a snapshot of a business's financial position at a specific time. Timing is important. Unlike reports that show activity over weeks or months, a balance sheet reflects one single date. It shows exactly what a business owns and what it owes at any moment. Because it's a snapshot, a balance sheet's numbers can change frequently. Payments, purchases, borrowing, all affect the totals. That's why it's important to always check the date at the top of the statement. Looking at a balance sheet without paying attention to the date can lead to incorrect assumptions. Since balance sheets are snapshots, they're often compared over time. Looking at balance sheets from different dates can help identify trends such as growing assets, decreasing debt, or increasing equity. These changes can indicate improving or declining financial stability. Now that we understand what a balance sheet represents, let's look how it's organized. Every balance sheet is divided into three main sections: assets, liabilities, and equity. The first section is assets. Assets represent what a business owns. This includes cash, accounts receivable, inventory, and equipment. Assets are usually listed in order of liquidity, meaning how quickly they can be converted into cash. Cash appears first because it's already liquid, while items like equipment appear later because they take longer to turn into cash. In the second section, liabilities, liabilities represent what the business owes. This includes accounts payable, credit cards, loans, and other debts. Liabilities are often divided into current liabilities and long-term liabilities. Understanding liabilities helps identify the financial obligations a business must meet. The third section is equity. Equity represents the business owner's stake in the business. It shows the value that remains after the liabilities are subtracted from the assets. Equity includes the owner's investment as well as the profits that have been retained in the business. These three sections are connected through the accounting equation: assets equals liabilities plus equity. This equation must always balance, which is why the balance sheet gets its name. If one section changes, at least one of the other sections must always change. Once these sections are understood individually, the next step is learning how they work together to indicate financial health. The relationship between assets, liabilities, and equity can reveal a lot about a business's financial condition. One important concept is solvency, which looks at whether a business has enough assets to cover its liability. When assets are higher than liabilities, the business is generally in a stronger position. When liabilities exceed assets, it may indicate financial strain. Another important relationship is debt compared to equity. High levels of debt relative to equity can signal financial risk, especially if the business relies heavily on borrowed funds. On the other hand, strong equity often provides stability and flexibility. Simple ratios such as debt to asset or debt to equity are commonly used to assess these relationships. Well, you don't need to calculate these ratios to understand the basics of being aware, helping them identify potential red flags. In conclusion, a balance sheet does not have to be intimidating. Today, we discussed what a balance sheet is, reviewed the 3 main sections, and explained how the relationship between those sections help determine financial health. When you understand how assets, liabilities, and equity work together, a balance sheet becomes much easier to read and far more useful. Once you know what to look for, a balance sheet stops being confusing and becomes a powerful tool for making confident financial decisions.